of goes in
Whatever direction.
a lot of directions. But Greg is
Whatever
an
tangent.
incredible social worker and just a real human guy. And I have kind of followed Greg around a little bit in terms of working cases together, and what I hear from parents is, I mean, they couldn't live without Greg. It's just that important to them. So without building him up any more than that. Why don't you all introduce?
Well, I was just gonna ask you guys, I would really be curious. I'm really happy, it really touches my soul that you guys are doing this work. It's just such important work, and you really do have a chance to really make a huge difference. And I know that, sounds almost trite, but it's really true. You're in a really great position. I was just wondering maybe who you are and what field you're coming from, or what interest you have bringing you here, just,
My name is Cindy Holmes, and my daughter, who's 21 now, she came to us through the foster care system when she was 14. And I don't ever remember her talking about having a CASA. She was from, so I don't know, it's just interesting to me.
but anyway, kind of.
It would have been, just hearing her side, it would have been, there were a few people throughout her journey that, she could rely on. Otherwise, everybody else is kind of forced into their life, so it's a little, it's nice to know that there's a few people in her life that she had that were supportive of her and looking out for her best interest, truly.
Good.
My name is Carol Kitson. I work for the Forest Service in Human Resources, which is nothing to do with why I wanted to do this. Actually, someone from CASA a couple years ago, I think, came and talked at our church about CASA. And it just really touched my heart. But I was in law school at the time and couldn't take on one more thing because I work full-time also. And so it's just been on my heart for a long time. And so here I am.
Now you're doing it.
Now I'm doing it.
Right on.
I'm Julie Ward, and I'm a retired dental hygienist, and I had a foster brother. I still have a foster brother, but he came to live with us when he was a sophomore in high school, and I just really like children.
Nice.
I'm Charlene Morantz. I'm retired from the Forest Service. It was Land's background. She made me come.
Gotta have a Forest Service presence.
I told her what I was doing, and she said, I've thought about that. And I said, well, it's not too late to sign up, I'm sure.
Actually, I did think about it earlier. I saw where they were asking for volunteers a couple of years ago. And I thought about doing it then, and I think I misunderstood exactly what it was and erased it from my list. I thought it was mentoring children.
Oh.
And I didn't think I'd be very good with abused children, so.
Okay.
I'm Margaret Dufreshow. I'm a workers' comp attorney representing injured workers, and a woman that I share office space with is a friend of Bill's, and I said, have they done that CASA training? And she said, I don't think so, and Bill's coming over for dinner this weekend, so.
Bill's always working.
So, no, I've been thinking about it for a while, so I'm glad to be here.
My name's Linda Armijo. My background with work is I'm a nurse, but I've done mainly psych. I ran a mental health program for the Helen Indian Alliance when Leo Poacher was alive.
Oh, wow.
And that opened my doors up to a lot of work in a lot of different areas. I've worked with sexual, physical, mental abuse, old people, mental health, pre-release. And I guess the thing that gets me is I'm retired now, and I'm able to see what's happening out there more. I mean, not more, I knew it was there, but I was too busy working for myself and my family, and now I have the opportunity to help somebody else.
that's a wonderful place to get to, huh?
Well, and it's scary because this generation is messed up, and the drugs is overwhelming.
And they all procreate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, there's a lot of kids out there now that are hurting.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
My name's Katie Lawler. I'm a real estate loan officer at Mountain West Bank, and I have done previously a lot of work with Head Start through Mountain West, read to the kids, we do all the banquets, benefits, and I really liked it. And then my sister is friends with Pam's daughter, and I've heard about it from them, so.
We got our house loan from Mountain West.
All right. I hope you got a good rate.
4.25. Maybe not as good as Mountain. Not bad.
But not bad.
I'm Donna Masu. I had been mentoring about Florence Crittenton when a friend of mine became a CASA, and she's currently a CASA, and I was watching. There were just some things with mentoring that I felt like I was struggling with at this point in my world, but CASA seemed like a better fit for me after watching her for 2 years. That what she was actually doing was probably more what I was suited for, so that has really attracted me to this kind of work.
Fantastic.
My name is Alan Stricker. I've kind of had three distinct careers, two as an engineer sandwiched around owning a good-sized restaurant for 10 years. And I'm a terminally bored retiree, even though I'm busy. I have had nothing that approached job satisfaction since, and my wife and I sponsored all the Christmas gifts for one of Bill's Casa families last Christmas. I met him and kind of determined that that was one of the things that I might find satisfying and was worthy of me spending my time as a volunteer on.
And there just needs to be more of us. You know, I did a children's trust fund thing a couple of weeks ago, and I was the only guy in the room. And as long as there's just one other guy in the room, I feel like it breaks that problem. Anyway, great.
My name's Susan Gallagher, and I'm retired from the news industry, and I knew a CASA who was quite inspiring, and through some interactions with kids over the years, I thought this would be a good thing for me to do now that I have more flexibility in my schedule.
You're not from Missoula.
No.
Oh.
Do you know Gallagher's in Missoula?
Michael Gallagher?
Oh, he's Gallagher.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bill
Usually
Gallagher.
I'm asked if I'm part of the Butte Gallaghers, and
Oh.
I'm not.
I'm Brianna Knowles. I graduated about a year ago from the University of Montana in sociology with an emphasis on criminology, and moved back about a year ago and just kind of got caught up in the whole working thing. But I do remember that CASA came up as an internship option as well as just a volunteer option when I was in school. And it, like I said, it just kind of got pushed to the background. And unfortunately now I'm working with a company that has nothing to do with my degree. But I kind of wanted to get into it. You know, it's why I got into sociology. I enjoy working with people and helping people, so it's something I'm kind of passionate about, and I'd like to kind of work more towards that. So.
Awesome. Well, I just parenthetically, I mean, just you bring up some interesting things. You know, I think we have to work. We work with people that have criminal thinking processes and errors and stuff that we have to be aware of. And at the health department, whenever we bill a visit or write up a visit, there's always an assessment. You know, I mean, we always assess for safety, and we're always kind of assessing things that go on. And because I'm going to get pretty extreme in some other directions, because I really believe in the humanity part that Bill was talking about. But, it touched the story that you guys, when I said you were going to steal my talk coming in here, that, it doesn't surprise me that because of a relationship that a mom walked in and told Bill, I can't do this. And really one of the lowdown that I wanted you guys to walk out of here with today is, how do you attenuate, how do you bring down defensiveness? I mean, we're really confused about, parenting on a social scale. Do we spank or do we not spank? And I've had that argument so many times in parenting support group or whatever. You know, we can't agree if there's global warming or climate change, or we can't
Makes
agree.
us think we can
Yeah.
agree on this.
We don't know if there's evolution or not. Things that, you know, seems pretty scientifically kind of established. I don't know what your stand is, but you know what I mean. Then we come into these areas and we're helping families out. But I think overall, I think it's really good to what I try to do is to go into every family with a reverence. That this is their family, and you're probably going to see a lot of defensiveness and a lot of stuff right up front, even if they start telling you things that are meant to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what strikes me about the story and the woman being, I've never seen. In very rare instances, I've never seen a mom or a dad relinquish other than through acting out or, in rare cases, being able to say something if they felt supported. And I don't think you get there when people are on the defensive all the time. And it happens a lot. And that's where I think you guys have a huge impact is in creating teams, that work, with folks. Bill was very kind in his introduction, but I do some guardian ad litem work on the side, and I just took a guardian ad litem that the father absolutely hates me. Let's just put it out there. But what I wanted to say is always remember, do no harm. Really, there's a long line of guardians in this case. One died, then one took over, and the one that took over, things were healing in this family slowly. It was more of a typical guardian ad litem case, with a divorcing couple. But, the guardian ad litem made a report to the court that really ripped, without consensus, without building that team, without talking it over, really ripped the relationships apart that were really fragile. And these relationships really are fragile. And so, I guess that's just another thing to kind of keep in mind is, I think a lot of times we're working with really fragile people. Mm-hmm. They may come off or have overcompensated, and you walk in there and, they're really ready to spar with you or to tell you their story. But, I think it takes a little bit of time sometimes to just really get down and have people trust you. I just got out of a home visit before I came here. A couple times ago, the biggest, I went over there and they had an issue, a burning issue. And, I thought, oh my God, what happened, And we get in there and the dad, the Head Start home visitor, wants to come to our house. Can you believe that? Well, he's been letting me come in there, but we talk that over and what the ramifications of that are. But the fact is, he's learned to trust me, and he's coming clean about his addiction problems, and nobody's forcing him to do that. Things haven't become reportable. I don't. Whenever I talk tonight, I want you to know that I report. But I tend to be a real advocate for parents because who's taking care of the kids? And then the parents are, and generally they'll make the right choice, I think, if they're supported and they're outside of, they have at least one relationship where they don't have to be defensive and they don't have to put on a front. And, then we work with personality disordered folks and, all other sorts of things that add something into the mix. But I think even with personality disordered folks, they really still just need a safe haven. We're really big into circle of security now. Have you guys heard of that? It's kind of a different way of saying the same thing that we've been talking about for years, but they talk about shark music.
Shark
Music.
Dun, 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 dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
We did that at Florence Clinton, they showed us the movie. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a very effective.
Yeah, it's a very effective movie, and it's
very
very
effective.
effective at getting across
It really is amazing.
the idea, right?
Yes.
That, these folks, when we walk on, well, the movie is, you're walking on an ocean beach and they're playing Mozart and, and it's just a beautiful ocean beach. And then the next scene is the same scene, but it's to dun 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 dun. Now the little island out there looks like it has enemies on it. They look, you know, I mean, you're just kind of looking for sharks, and you know, all of a sudden we're afraid. You know, and I think out of fear we make some really bad choices. And I think, you know, a lot of these folks that we deal with grew up in homes of fear and homes of violence and anger, and people didn't know how to meet their needs. You know, they just somehow or another figured out the wrong way to meet their needs. And so they're trying to meet their kids' needs, and they have, you know, what I'm able to really touch, I think, in parents is hopefully, most of the time, is you know, the idea that they can be with their kids and that their kids need them, and to identify their shark music, because kids do stimulate our shark music. And so, you know, we may be in some pretty normal situations, and this little child that's completely dependent upon us, and you know, we don't know much about it, but that kid needs something from us and is just like, you know, 100% dependent on us, and we don't know what to do. It can, you know, it can elicit that shark music, and that can, you know, push buttons. In our Parents Anonymous group, we talk about parenting kind of being affected by 3 major sources, and that's old wounds from the past, you know, being abused yourself, you know, having those old wounds that maybe you haven't dealt with, issues that haven't been treated, unexamined issues that haven't really, you know, looked at. Overwhelming stress, just, you know, that's why poverty is violence. You know, overwhelming stress in the moment from poverty is violence. It puts people under a terrific amount of, you know, I lose my iPhone and I throw a tantrum. You know, I mean, you know, I have clients that, you know, I mean, my God, you know, I mean, they half the time don't have a car, and when they do, they get pulled over, and then they don't have insurance, and then they're further behind, down by law.
Yep.
And you know, then I don't know what's worse. Then the higher income folks hire attorneys and fight longer. You know, so I don't know which is better, but you know.
I have to ask a question.
Sure, stop me anytime, actually.
Can you put into words better how kids translate into shark music? I can understand what shark music means and does to people. I do not understand, are you talking about like immediate stressors, or,
Okay,
I
okay.
guess I don't see where kids become shark.
Get over here! You know, little kids, right? Screaming, yelling. I mean, that'll.
I guess my kids must have been in much better shape.
I mean, that's just one thing, okay? I mean, there's a lot of, and you're probably a really healthy adult. If you're in this room, you know, doing this thing and having to have the resume that you have. And really, you know, child abuse burns up IQ. You know, it makes us appear less functional, less smart, less everything, and a lot of folks that tend to be under the spotlight come from impoverished situations where they have experienced abuse maybe, and abuse creates trauma.
Yeah,
Trauma
yeah.
creates fear.
Okay.
So there's a repetitive kind of a nature to parenting where, you know, if you grew up in a nurturing home where they knew how to nurture you and knew how to respond to your needs appropriately, timely, accurately as you were having them, then you probably never heard screaming like that because needs were being responded to. In some homes, kids' needs aren't responded to timely and accurately, and needs aren't being met. And then by the time you get around the need wheel, you got another need that's happening after that other one hasn't been met. And so there's a lot of stress and pressure, and people feel the pressure to be perfect parents, and they feel the pressure to be the best parent. And it's sometimes some folks that we work with, it's their only social badge they have. If you think about it, some of them haven't graduated from high school, some of them have really, and I'm not talking all of them. One of my favorite clients right now, and I would say on the top of my list, has 2 degrees. One in psychology and one in criminal justice, and she has troubles herself in both areas, personally. But I mean, as a general rule,
Yeah.
they've experienced a lot of failure. They haven't had a a relationship with another adult that's been safe. If you say you have a hard time understanding that, you probably have experienced adults as being safe and attentive, and not letting screaming or kids to that point. Makes sense? I mean,
And they talked to us from a different perspective at Florence Crittenton. They used it as an example of how, if we were calling ourselves the healthy adults, and you're dealing with somebody who's struggling, that they use that scene. They actually take you down a path in this movie. So the camera is walking along this path, and the first scene has this beautiful music, and you immediately feel that. You just can't wait to get to the beach, and you're
Calm,
envisioning all
relaxed.
this. It's wonderful. But what they're telling you is that same exact scene could be sharp music to another person, because maybe there was an abuse situation in a beach situation, or you know what I'm saying? Like, so for you, everything seems like it should be perfectly fine, and you walk into a situation and somebody else starts to act out, and you can't even figure out why. Why would they be reacting this way? It's everything's nice, I'm kind, but there could be something in the room that's a trigger. That's the sharp music. It's for them, when they're in the room looking at that picture, that reminds them of the picture of the wall, that they were in this room being tortured. They hear sharp music. While you're sitting here talking about lovely things, they're that's how they use that example.
Exactly.
As another,
exactly.
for another
And
perspective.
it could be in any, it's a state of mind.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
state
Sure.
of mind. Now, I mean, your resume tells me you're a take charge guy, and I mean, really, if you have a problem, you deal with it. If my screaming, I'm sorry, crying, I tried to be as good as I could, but
It's really good.
It scared me.
if it bugged you, yeah. I mean, now you can imagine a parent going into that state of mind, hearing that. Now, I know, I'm sorry I did that, but I'll often do that in parenting classes, though, in different situations, because you got to bring up the feeling to know that this is what's going on in these homes. This kind of feeling is what's going on, and like sometimes, I mean, I had an occasion to experience my anger here, and I was talking to Pam a little bit about it. My wife has a handicap, and she can't go upstairs, and everybody should know that, and the person she was with, who was very capable and should have known, didn't help her, and she fell down those stairs and re-injured herself, and she's got a pretty severe injury from a car wreck a couple of years ago. Now, the story's all good. She didn't re-injure herself that bad. It's just not good, right? But I was so angry, and I haven't lost my temper like that in I don't know how long, but it gave, it was good for me. Because now I understand when some of these feelings are powerful that people are experiencing. And, I gave Casa, out of the generosity of my heart,
Yes.
the purple video about, shaking baby. And, people, want to shut that sound off. And that's what they do, And women do it as much as men, but men hurt babies more than women do. And some of the more recent research on that is that women will not own up to it as much as men will, but men hurt babies more. It's interesting. But regardless, we all have that feeling sometimes when we hear something, or a kid's being lippy to us out in public, because they think they can. I mean, you just feel that kind of that. You're not going to talk to me that way, kind of a feeling. But, really, what's a better skill to have? Where does that feeling come from? In our parenting classes, we talk about ambivalence, and having the most important relationship you have as a parent is with yourself. And, identifying the shark music and the state of mind. And we all carry around a couple sets of feelings about ourselves, we get an F on the test, we probably feel pretty badly about how we did. It doesn't matter, we didn't prepare, and we were at the hospital the night before with our spouse, and got thrust into this situation. If we fail, we still feel bad about ourselves, right? And to some degree or another might punish ourselves for it. On the other side of the coin, you know, there's that part of us that's goal oriented, willing to sit down, make goals, believes in ourselves, willing to get after it. And then more or less, that's kind of the balance of mental health, isn't it? You know, what side of the coin you're on a little bit more. And I think it depends, you know, really, I mean, all of us here have a valuable chance to at least be a supportive relationship with somebody to find the truth in their life. I never try to go in and you know, really force anybody into a situation. I love motivational interviewing, but
I was just curious if, as a CASA person, you feel something that you've experienced yourself, if you share those experiences with that parent or whoever you're interviewing?
you mean as far as if I share personally some of the experiences I've had with
I'm
clients?
talking about any of us, if we were interviewing and got into a stressful situation and the person's all upset and you know exactly what they're going through because you've been there.
Oh, I think sharing part of yourself is essential. You know, I think you have to have boundaries, of course, around it,
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to be. I guess the only boundary that I would say is that, you know, it remains focused on the client, not focused on you, as your experience, right? I mean, there are people that take, you know, those situations and, you know, kind of start, you know, they, you know what I mean?
I didn't mean that.
No, but I, you know,
understand
but
what
I
you're
think,
saying.
but otherwise, I mean, I honestly think it's essential, and I honestly think that we need to be human beings with each other, and that we need to, when I say that there's this ambivalence problem, I'm really not talking about clients versus caregivers, or teacher versus students, or social worker versus client. Yeah, I really think, you know, and this isn't my phrase, I think we're all bozos on the same bus. And we're all struggling to some degree with the same issues with our own families and our, you know, you know, Cheryl Ronish and I are fusing the circle of security with compassionate parenting. And compassionate parenting talks a lot about the issues that we go through as parents. And, you know, it's really a group of professionals that devised it, and were pretty honest about some of the feelings they had about, you know, raising kids and wanting to project themselves into their children. You know, really they have this idea that's really cool called love versus hunger. You know, the more we as children, if we get our needs met, we're okay. You know, and we don't even have to get our needs met 100% of the time. Circle of Security, I think, says 35% of the time.
Wow, that's low.
That doesn't seem very good, does it? But to be actually to come out the other side with your hat on.
35%.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and a lot of the folks that we may be dealing with are under that. But then a lot of the folks in this room may be way more than that. But, you know, the idea is the more your needs aren't met as a child, the more hunger you build and the more needy you are, and you carry that into your adult relationships. You know, and I didn't tell you the three things. I said, you know, past wounds, and then current, you know, stress, and then needs that aren't being met. Those needs could stem from childhood. Those could be pretty concrete needs. But the more we meet those needs in parents and help parents identify their needs and meet their needs, the more available they are to their kids. So, you know, if somehow, you know, you can have a supportive meeting with a mom or a dad and help them focus on something that's productive, and even, you know, information comes last, usually. Usually people really want to be supported first and feel that they're understood first. And there's nothing wrong with being understood, and I think it's essential that we understand our parents' roadmaps, even if it's pathological. And the best technique I know for that, to give you an idea how I like to do it, is motivational interviewing. Has anybody ever heard that? It's a great technique, but it essentially it's a lot of questions. You know, well, how's that working for you? And, you know, you get, you know, this dad that I just left today, I've been talking to him about his drinking. And, you know, I just, you know, I said, well, is this drinking causing you problems? Well, yeah, you know, it's gotten the police called to my house a couple of times. It's come between me and my wife. I'm getting him to identify, you know, what the problems are with his drinking, and how it's, you know, interrupted his relationship, and he's coming to really understand that he has a problem with drinking. I don't have to diagnose it and refer him in a standard way. You know, I mean, I'm sort of, you know, bringing him on board and, you know, and asking him, well, what are you going to do about it? You know, what do you think your options are? Here's what some people have done. Would you choose any of those things? Any of those things work for you? You know, you got to be the one that's committed to this. You know, nobody else can commit themselves to it. But, you know, but people, I think, need the platform to get out of the ocean that they're on and find a safe haven. You know, it's what, you know, the circle of security. We're all involved in a circle of security in our lives, where we go out into the world every day, and then we come home and we organize our feelings, whether that's with a partner, ourselves, in our homes. But that's, you know, that's what little kids do. And, you know, I went and filed a parenting plan today with a mom, and she brought her 16-month-old, and, you know, that little kid would go from the bottom of the circle with mom and out just a little bit and a little bit further each time. And mom was right there in synchrony with that little kid, just, you know, encouraging and watching appropriately. And, you know, pretty soon the little kid ran around the corner of the clerk's office and was gone. And she took charge. You know, there's a point where you take charge, right, and bring the kid back into the circle. The problem is a lot of the folks we deal with have abandoned the circle, have left the circle, and we have kids. If you ever watch kids in a video, it's really when parents leave them and they put them in an abandonment situation, they kind of do this weird kind of, you know, it's almost like they're just, you know, they're just kind of swirling around, like, you know, like they don't have any, you know, and that's how it feels inside to not have a parent. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna probably figure out some way to get that parent's attention. And if, you know, like some of our parents, if they're busy, they don't have their needs met. In the extreme case, there's seeds for mental illness. I mean, that's how mental illness is born, I believe, is, you know, kids to one degree or another not having their needs met growing up, or adequate feedback or protection, opportunity, you know, to try things out, fail, try again. You know, you know, if they have all of those things present in their life, they're just more likely to, you know, be whole persons. But we work with a lot of, and I work with a lot of the same people you do, and I'll be their staunch advocates because I know, and this is another major thing I wanted to share with you guys, it does irreparable harm to remove a child from the home. Now, I've been a part of removals, terminations, removals myself. I've left on a Friday night with a child in my car with the department's blessing. Okay? But what I'm saying is, and what I see more and more every year is, you know, I mean, let's be damn clear that the kid's going to be better off in a foster home than, you know, make darn sure, because that in itself is a very traumatic, and there's a lady that's really involved in, she worked with Mary Ainsworth, and her name is Crittenden. Do you know her? Have you heard of her?
No.
I can't remember, her name's not Florence. but you know, she claims that, you know, within the first couple hours of her removal, that, you know, there's some pretty significant damage that happens to a kid. Now, you know, it's like giving a medication to somebody where, you know, there's like right now, a depressed mom can be so depressed that she can hurt herself and her baby, unborn baby. Do you medicate her with some of the SSRIs that may cause cleft palate because there's a balance, you know, of, you know, you need to treat the depression? You know, I mean, you know, there's a risk-benefit analysis about, you know, I mean, I'm not saying there's not a time to take kids out of the home. Anybody in here know Dick Rosenleaf? Let's have a moment of silence for Dick, huh? He died, you know, within the last couple months. And if you know Dick, go on the Montana Standard and read his obituary. It'll make your night. Yeah, I'm sorry. Had to tell you that. I felt the same way.
What did he die for?
He had a really bad COPD, and he just kind of has been teetering for a number of years, and you know, he's been kind of working up till the end, and then the end's been a year or two. And, but you know, Dick said, you know, I mean, you know, pulling kids out of their home was legalized kidnapping. I mean, that was his way of saying, you know, be careful. You know, I mean, you want to be really careful when you make the move to remove a child from the home, and you want to make sure that they really need to be protected, and things are that bad, to go ahead and harm them once again, because you're going to harm them once again to take them out of the home. There's every kid that's ever been through Intermountain Children's Home. I heard this one time from one of the, I think it was John Wilkinson, so it's been a while. But you know, he said every kid once is on a path, you know, going home, a journey to Mecca. What do they call that? A
Pilgrimage.
on a pilgrimage home. You know, they want to figure out what happened and why they were to blame, maybe, to be pulled out of that home.
One of the gripping comments from a speaker last week involved conversations with people who had been through foster care, and she said that some of these kids said that really all they wanted was for the social worker to fix the problem. They never wanted to trigger removal. And, you know, if they didn't know that, I assumed that the kids had something to do in making the complaints maybe, but they never wanted to see the family taken apart. They just wanted to have the problem resolved.
And you know, and I would hope that, you know, I mean, that maybe there's 2 or 3 cases a year that we could notice that we could actually, they're so close to that point that we could go in and be supportive, work from a strengths point of view, and help push it that other direction back, instead of jumping in and pulling the kids out right away. I'm not saying every case is like that, but yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I work with so many young moms that, you know, are trying to fix that still, you know, in their families. And you know, the other thing that we talk about is, what I like to leave you guys with in one form or another, is then we have treatment plans.